I just assumed that it was all going to happen, but it doesn't just happen. What you get out of life is a reflection of what you work for.
If you renovate your home constantly and take good care of it, it will increase in value. Same goes for your life. If you don't, it will rot and decay and decrease in value. Same goes for your life.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another very special, as always, weekly Next Level University live podcast, week number 82, 5 hard truths that you need to hear. So Alan and I are in a very interesting place in our lives where we have a podcast where we get to tell people hard truths. Alan and I both have clients, and our relationships have a lot of feedback in them as well. We talk to the team about hard truths. We talk to friends and family. And at the end of the day, I genuinely believe, and this isn't something I have written down, but I believe one of the most hard truths, or the hardest truth you can learn, is your success and your opportunities in life are directly correlated to your level of awareness. And our job on this live and in our podcast is to raise your level of awareness. So today we are going to give you 5 hard truths that you need to hear. And I assume, take it easy, please. And I assume mine will be better than Alan's.
Yeah, of course, obviously. I remember I had a coach early on. His name was Alex, and this was probably 4 years ago now. I met him at an event, and he coached me. Unbelievable coach. One of those people, and I've talked about this many times, where the more and more I've grown and evolved, the more and more I respect this person, and especially what he taught me. One of the things he taught me was, Alan, the people who succeed at the highest level are able to handle the most truth. Okay. That quote has stuck with me all these years, and I do believe that to be true. And so, yes, we're heart driven, and we care about you, and we care about you enough to tell you the hard truths, because if you want to get to the next level in your life, I often say a joke, this is not fluffy, feel good you. This is next level you, next level university. How to get to the next level. And so, yeah, this is going to be tough, but it's going to be wonderful. And if you can handle it and hack it, we're glad you're here, and we're excited.
Do you want to lead the dance?
I can, if you'd like.
You can lead the dance.
Yeah, you want me to lead?
Sure.
All right, my first point I wrote down here. Again, 5 hard truths you need to hear. I have 5, Kevin has 5. First one for me is intrinsic value is not all that matters. All right, so all of us have the same intrinsic value. We're all born into this world, naked, scared, and ignorant. I don't care what, country you were born in. I don't care what socioeconomic background you were born in. I don't care if you were born poor or in wealth. I don't care what color your skin is. I don't care about any of that. We all have the same intrinsic spiritual value, and I do believe that deeply, deeply, deeply in my heart. What I'm here to talk to you about today is that that's only 1/4 of the equation, in my opinion. Okay. From a spiritual perspective, it's the whole equation. Okay. So keep that in mind. But when it comes to the marketplace, when it comes to the economy, it's not. So there's 4 types of value. Okay. So the first type is intrinsic value. Very, very important. The second type is primary value. Primary value is who you are in your heart and your own capabilities. What are your skills? Who are you really? Who are you when no one's watching? Okay, how hard have you worked on yourself? It's primary value. A good example of this is there's a reason why some homes are worth $7 million. Other homes are worth $200,000. What's the difference? One of them, it took a lot longer to build, and it was much harder to build, and it had much better materials. So it's easy to tell the difference between a $7 million home and a $200,000 home. But when it comes to human beings, it's harder to do that. Okay, so primary value is your actual value, your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual development. Okay, so intrinsic value, primary value. There's 2 more types of value. There's passive value. Passive value is your body of work. A good example of this is Leonardo DiCaprio. So Leonardo DiCaprio has a bunch of movies, and you should pay Leonardo DiCaprio more than you pay some no-name actor who's never succeeded at a film. Why? Because in the context of movie making, Leonardo DiCaprio is a better bet. He has a higher probability to bring money to the box office because he has a proven track record. Passive value is the 770 episodes that Kevin and I have out on the internet that proves our value. It's our credibility. Okay. I often tell a story about how if Matthew McConaughey were to come into a bar and say, hey, who wants to party at my house? A lot of people would be like, hell yeah, let's rock and roll. Whereas if Alan Lazaros came into a random bar and said, hey, who wants to party at my house? Everyone would be like, get out of here, weirdo. We don't even know who you are. Okay, that's passive value. Matthew McConaughey has much more passive value out in the world, tons and tons and tons of movies that more people have seen than I do. Okay, so again, intrinsic value, primary value, passive value. Now there's active value. Active value is what I'm doing right now, in real time, adding real value. Okay, so active value is what are you actually doing in the moment to add value to the world. Jim Carrey has this amazing quote. He says, what does the world need that your talent can provide? That's what we're saying here. What we're saying is intrinsic value is great, but the hard truth is intrinsic value is not all that matters. Another good analogy here is you should pay Michael Jordan millions of dollars to play basketball. You should not pay Michael Jordan millions of dollars to play baseball. It's contextual. Michael Jordan's intrinsic value is the same, but his value to the marketplace drastically changes playing basketball versus baseball. And it's very important. That's a hard truth for all of us to hear, because a lot of us feel like we should be paid more when in reality, we're actually paid based on contextual value that's way beyond intrinsic.
Michael Jordan did hit a couple dingers, though.
In baseball?
I think so.
I don't really know much about it.
Maybe a couple.
Yeah.
Maybe
pretty decent.
I mean,
pretty decent.
Not the best in the world. Not the best in the world. All right,
basketball,
my first basketball best in the world, maybe ever. Mm-hmm. My first point is this, and this again, these are hard truths that you need to hear. So think of it this way. On your journey, you are going to outgrow and be outgrown. It's just par for the course. So imagine this. You're on the highway and you're driving to wherever it is you're going. Maybe you're going to the gym. Maybe you're going to the movies. You're going to get coffee. You're going to get a burger or whatever it may be. And you're on the highway. How often...
We know what Kevin does with his free time.
Gym, coffee, burger. That's how it goes for me. How often in your travels are you side by side with the same car for the entire drive? Almost never. I can say I've driven, I don't know, at this point, probably 100,000 miles. I've driven so much in my life, and it's always different cars. People pass you over here. People pass you over here. You pass people here. I think that's a good analogy for life. You have to understand that, number one, we're not all on the same journey. Number two, we're not all going the same speed. Number three, we're not all going the same direction. And I think it's one of those things where it's difficult because it's personal. It's difficult because you feel bad about it. And sometimes other people either intentionally or unintentionally make you feel bad about it. But we outgrow jobs. We outgrow places where we live. We outgrow homes when we have families. We outgrow shoes. We outgrow clothes. Why is it expected that we're going to stay the same with the same group of people? I think that is a difficult, hard truth, not only because you have to realize that it's going to happen and you're going to be on both ends, but I think it's a truth and a difficult one to understand that it's okay. It's okay to outgrow people. It's okay to be outgrown. Alan and I have, quote unquote, outgrown a lot of people to get to where we are, but we've also re-attracted people in later. We've attracted people that were growing at the same rate, and maybe they left our lives and they were only here for a season, but that's okay. For me, it's one of those understandings of every moment has a possibility for a lesson. Every season has the possibility for a lesson. And even if you outgrow or are outgrown, there's still lessons there, and there always will be. And I think that there's something empowering about understanding that it's okay for you to really keep leveling up. I think that's Alan, I said I wanted to have a couple of points that were kind of like positive truths, and I think it's empowering. I think that's an empowering hard truth that people need to hear, that, look, stop playing small. Stop playing small and stop fearing that you're going to leave people behind, because you're going to regret it if you don't. I think that's difficult to hear.
Couldn't agree more, brother. The second one that I have here is your choices have brought you to where you are today. More than anything else, everything is a choice. What you say and don't say, what you think and don't think, what you do and don't do, what you feel and don't feel, and what you believe and don't believe are all a choice. And so assuming you live in a free country, you have choices of what to say, think, do, feel, and believe every moment. If someone says you're not good enough and you choose to believe them, that's a choice. Okay? And I'll be vulnerable here and I'll tell some stories. So when I was 16 years old, I made unintelligent choices. One of the unintelligent choices I had was to basically drive to Johnston, Rhode Island, and to lose my virginity at age 16 to a woman that I barely met. Okay, I only had been talking to her for 4 days. And the truth of the matter is that that was a 16-year-old guy thing to do, but I made a poor choice. If something had gone poorly, then that would have been on me. And if I was still making poor, unintelligent choices like that, I'd still be living a level 16 life instead of I'm about to be 33. And yes, Kevin, that's 231 in doggy years, by the way. November 17th, I'm 231 in doggy years. I said that in one of our speeches, and crickets.
Oh, it did well. It did well.
I appreciate that, brother. I ended up bringing it back at the end.
That's when it really landed.
That's
sometimes you got to revisit so people
Yeah.
remember, you know what? That's funnier than I thought.
I'm learning, Kevin, this is a difficult truth for you to hear, but and Amy's behind the scenes, she'll laugh at this. She may or may not have told me this past weekend when we were together. Amy and I, every week, we work together. And she said, I think you might be funnier than Kevin. Oh my God. I was like, if you tell him that, that might break his heart. So,
I can accept it. I can accept it.
But anyways, so everything is a choice. Okay. And the choices that you've made, some good, some bad, some not so good, some decent, some great, have increased the probability of what have brought you to this moment. So your waistline is currently a direct correlation between your fitness choices, what you've decided to study and not study, what you've decided to eat and not eat, when you've decided to exercise and not exercise. We have more control over our life than we give credit for. You know, if you spend more money than you make every month, it's your choice to be broke. I remember one time, and then we'll move on from this point, but I was really young, and one of my young friends, really young, early 20s, one of my friends was like arguing with me that people should be paid more. And I said, well, I used to make $7.25 an hour as a busboy and a cart kid, and honestly, I think I was overpaid, if anything. And he's like, I don't understand. Like, that's not enough money to live. I said, yes, it was. It was enough money to live. Now, remember, this is way back. This is over a decade ago. So that's too low to live well nowadays. But my point was this: I don't plan on staying there. And the other important piece of this is that it's a choice to stay at $7.25 an hour. Kevin and I run a business. If you want to add more value to the organization, you will be paid more, for sure. Unless you have terrible, terrible leaders, in which case it's a choice to leave that job, right? And so it's just important to understand that most of the outcomes in your life, not all of them, sometimes good things happen to bad people. Sometimes bad things happen to good people, okay? But overall, we do have a choice in everything. Even when bad things happen, many bad things have happened to me, I had a choice about what I'm going to do about it. And we know people that have been paralyzed from the waist down. We know people who have been paralyzed and can't even use their own arms. And they're still living holistic, dynamic, influential, positive lives. And my question for you is, what's your excuse? You know, Eric LeGrand's a friend of ours, and he inspires the hell out of me because he's a happier person than some people who are fully capable and have full functioning bodies. You know, we sit here and we're like, well, I don't want to go to the gym. It's like, well, you know, if you couldn't go to the gym, you might be singing a different story. So everything's a choice. And that's another hard truth because you got to take ownership.
Hard truth number 2 from Kevin. Not everyone wants and or knows what is best for you. So a job that I don't talk about often, I do talk about a lot of my jobs often, the gas station, the construction job. But one of the jobs I had was I was a forklift operator / truck driver. I actually enjoyed driving the truck and I enjoyed whipping around on the forklift. That was a pretty interesting job. But I remember when I walked into the office where the bosses were, and there was like a front desk where we sold products and stuff. And I remember telling them that I was leaving that job to go to the fire academy. And they literally laughed at me They said, like, wait, you're going to quit your job and you don't have anything lined up. Like, what do you think is going to happen? I said, I don't know. At least I'll be happy doing what I'm doing. Like, at least I'll be happy going to the fire academy. And mind you, this job was 6 days a week. They always wanted somebody to work Saturday. I started at 5:45, often working 12-hour days, sometimes like 16-hour days in the rain, driving all over the place. They didn't mean badly, but they didn't want what was best for me. They wanted what was best for the business. And that's okay. Like, a lot of businesses are that way. But I do think they could have walked that line a little bit better. Alan and I run a business, and I routinely tell people, like, hey, make sure you get enough rest. Like, I don't want you working all night. I want you to get some rest, because you're going to get sick and you're not going to feel well, and you're going to burn down. Like, that's not sustainable. We don't want that. So I think, to Alan's point, a lot of it has to do with leadership. And this is another one too. I talk about my family a lot. I love my family. They're super supportive. My mom and Grams are unreasonably supportive of what I do and what I want out of life. But they don't necessarily know what's best for me in my future, because they've never done what I've done. I said something recently in one of our speeches of one of the people that I was helping said that her family said she'd never be successful. She couldn't be a speaker. And they just talked very negatively. And I said, I can assure you of one thing. And I said, this might sound cocky. I know better than they do. The only reason I know better is because I'm doing that. I'm doing what you want to do. So I just think it's an important distinction and a breakthrough for a lot of people, hard truth that you need to hear. A lot of people that are very, very close to you do not know what's best for you unless they've walked the path that you're trying to walk. How could they possibly know what's best for you? And then on a deeper level, if they don't know your insecurities, if they don't know your deep desires, if they don't know what you want out of your future, if they don't know what your fears from your past on, how could they possibly know what you actually are capable of, what's best for you, and how you want to and deserve to live your life?
This is an unexpected one, but recently we were on a team huddle, and I said this. I said, people are going to have an opinion about you no matter what. At least let them have an opinion about who you really are. You know, it's like this whole fear of judgment thing. And so if I gave a speech in front of 1,000 people, that's 1,000 different opinions about me. But I only have one character. Who I am when no one's watching doesn't change. Who I am at the heart level, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, like that's who I really am, right? And so it's important to understand that if you're going to be judged and if you're going to have people have opinions and they're going to be overly critical of you and what you do and don't do, right? Like, at least have them be critical of what you want, because they're going to be critical regardless. And staying small isn't going to help you, and it's something you're going to regret. Number 3 for me, your adversity may not be your fault, but it is your responsibility to do something with it. We've, again, interviewed people all over the world, and some of these people have had the worst, most heinous things happen to them. And some of them went on to live these rich, unbelievable, positive, dynamic lives. And, you know, I've said this about Kev too. You know, I think one of my favorite parts about Kev is that he was the friend who was going to go to jail or whatever. I mean, you were the friend that wasn't going to make it, quote unquote. Mm. And I love that you came from not nothing, but humble beginnings. And, you know, we both grew up without fathers and that whole thing. It's like, I have reverence for that. I grew up in adversity. Right out of the gate, my father passed away when I was 2. I had a stepdad from 2 to 14. My stepdad left at 14. We went from literally building a custom yacht to I got free lunch at school because our income was so low when my stepdad left. All of that built so much character. I had to try to figure out how to be a man at age 14 and how to be there for my family in ways I can't even go into. And so your adversity, you know, some people, what makes the difference, right? You have some people who are given so much, right? And they end up not doing a lot with it. And then you have some people who life has just stepped on, has really just beaten the shit out of. And they go on to have these rich, dynamic, positive, influential lives. It's like, what made the difference, right? And what makes the difference is, again, it comes back to choice. So my third point is simple. Your adversity may not be your fault. Okay? It wasn't my fault that my father died at 28 when I was 2. But it is my responsibility to figure out how to have a positive life without a father. And this, whatever your adversities are, and I know you have them, and if you haven't, they're coming because that's life. You have a choice of what you're going to do about that, right? Someone laughs at you. Someone laughs at you. Guess what? You can either shell up and hide and not do the thing you were going to do, or you can let it motivate you. I always let it motivate me. And you have that same choice too. It is your responsibility. Everything you say is your responsibility. Everything you don't say but should have said is your responsibility. Everything you do is your responsibility. Everything you should have done but didn't do is your responsibility. All of it is our responsibility. We only have control over what we say, think, do, feel, and believe, and that is our responsibility. Sometimes bad things will happen. Adversity will happen. All of us have adversity in our future. Kevin does. I do. Health challenges, financial challenges, family challenges, child challenges, you name it. They're going to come. But what we're going to do with those is get better. We're going to take responsibility. We're going to take ownership, and we're going to find a way to get better. And that's what I want for each and every one of you as well.
Just to tie into what Alan was saying, I think my Wi-Fi might Jeff here, Alan. Just FYI, I see a little thing in the top left. So if it Jeffs,
it's happening.
Yeah, of course.
If you want me to go to my next point, we can.
Please.
Please. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Hurvitz. So last year I wanted to quit everything. I wanted to throw in the towel. I wanted to hang up my microphone. And Kevin said no. Kevin said, keep going, Jen. You've got this. And oh my God, I'm going to cry. And I did. Coaches need coaches, y'all. And working with Kevin has been one of the best experiences of my life. Oh my God, I'm crying. Kevin, you are the best. I could not do this without you. And thank you. Thank you for being you and the amazing human that you are.
Speaking of adversity,
came right at the perfect time. Thank you. Number 4, my 4th point. You are not going to be happy when ... This whole I'll be happy when I get a home. I'll be happy when I graduate college. Oh, I'll be happy when I get that relationship. Oh, I'll be happy when I get that new car. I'll be happy when we achieve our dreams. No. Not a real thing. I'm writing a book right now called Optimizing for Fulfillment. And you guys have probably heard me talk about this, but I don't believe happiness is the right word. This is just my personal belief. Happiness, it's kind of fleeting. It's kind of like, well, are you happy? Everyone asks themselves, am I happy? It's like, yeah, right? But like, we don't really know what it means. We don't know how to achieve it. We don't know how to sustain it. That's why in the Constitution, it says the pursuit of happiness, because it's a pursuit. It's an infinite game. You never really get there. And so what I believe is happiness is broken into 3 categories. You've heard me talk about this. The first one is joy. Joy is being in the moment, enjoying what you're doing. Okay, so I meal prepped last night, and while I don't love to meal prep, I tried to enjoy it by listening to a book while I did it. Okay, that's joy. All right, number 2 is pleasure. This is what I think a lot of people think happiness is. I used to have a pleasure-centered paradigm growing up, and when I was 26, I got in a car accident, and I shifted that to a fulfillment-centered paradigm and a mission-centered paradigm. But I think a lot of people still have a pleasure-centered paradigm. If I watch this Netflix show, then I'll be happy. But it never works. It never works. You never finish the show happier. You enjoyed it, right? But you're not fulfilled. Okay, so pleasure. Pleasure is a dopamine hit. Pleasure is if I eat this donut, then I'll be happy or pleasurable. 3rd, fulfillment. Fulfillment, I think, is the only thing that's sustainable. And I think that fulfillment is the soul's recognition of alignment with its highest calling. I believe that, by the way, regret, I think, is misalignment with your highest calling. So when you do something and you actually admit it to yourself that you regretted it, that's your soul saying, hey, that was outside of alignment with your core aspirations, your core values, your core beliefs. So getting back to my original point, you're not going to be happy when ... Okay, I just moved in with my beautiful girlfriend, amazing, beautiful home, absolutely adore it, dream come true. Okay, I was fulfilled before, I'm fulfilled now. Yes, it has improved the quality of my life, but it's not like the one thing that suddenly I'm happy now, right? There's always a next level. There's always a next level. There's always a next level. So the better question to ask, instead of I'll be happy when or when will I be happy, is how fulfilled am I from 0 to 10? And if your answer is 6, that's okay. How do we get a little closer to 10? Oh, okay. I haven't been sleeping well. All right, let's improve the sleep. All right, maybe I do sleepy time tea before bed and I dim the lights a little earlier. I know Amy did that recently. Okay? I have a pyramid of fulfillment that I can send to anybody. If you want to reach out genuinely, I can send it to you. It's what my book is based around. I actually took one of my clients through this recently. But ever since I was a little kid, I've been trying to figure out, and this is the way I used to frame it, how do I looked around, okay? I looked around, and small town, grew up in a small town with fairly small-minded town, and nothing against them, but small town. And I looked around and I got scared. I got scared because I didn't see a lot of happiness. I got scared because I was like, there's no way that high school is going to be the best years of my life. Everyone always said that, right? Oh, these are the best years of your life. No, they're not. They better not be. No. I'm 33, about to be 33. It's only gotten better. So much better. Oh my God, so much better. Now, why? Because I've learned life. I've raised my awareness. I've figured out how to make better, more aligned choices. I told you about one of my misaligned choices earlier, right? Making choices like that wasn't very fulfilling. I thought it would be. Wasn't, right? So here's my point. You're not going to be happy when you get that next car. You're not going to be happy when you get that next job. You're not going to be happy when you get that promotion or when you get that body. Happiness is a byproduct of all these other things: sleeping well, hydrating well, being healthy, living in alignment, serving others, maximizing your potential. And I have a framework, but really what it comes down to is, am I maximizing my own unique potential? Am I using that potential to serve the world in a unique, positive way? And is the quality of my life increasing or decreasing? If you renovate your home constantly and take good care of it, it will increase in value. Same goes for your life. If you don't, it will rot and decay and decrease in value. Same goes for your life. I didn't make the rules. It just is set up that way.
Hopefully my Wi-Fi can withstand the fire that I'm about to bring here. So my next point, things don't just work out. I've told this story to Alan. I don't know if I've ever told it on the podcast, but when I was like 11 years old, my friends and I would drive around on our bicycles through the neighborhood, and we used to talk about how we were all going to be in the major leagues playing baseball. We were going to have like these RVs that we would just drive around. We were going to have really nice sports cars and mansions, and we were just going to have these amazing, amazing lives. And you know what I did to accomplish that? Absolutely nothing. I didn't practice any harder at baseball. I didn't study finance at all. I just assumed that it was all going to happen. But it doesn't just happen. What you get out of life is a reflection of what you work for. There's a lot of people that I think are amazing, and I think that they have great work ethic, and you'll hear them say, like, I can really see myself here. I can see myself on stage. I can see myself as a podcaster. There's a huge difference between seeing yourself somewhere and getting yourself somewhere. I could see myself in the major leagues. I just never got myself there. I could see myself in a mansion, but for the longest time, I wasn't doing anything to get myself there. Now, I know that's hardcore, but again, Alan and I's goal is to be heart-driven, but no BS. If you really want to change your life, if you want to change your future, if you want to change your outcomes, something has to change first. And that something is usually you. Very difficult. Like, out of everything I've learned over the last 5 years, I've learned more about myself. Out of all the things I've changed myself. And that's why we're getting the results that we're getting. But I know for the longest time, I just thought it was going to happen. I thought the money would come. I thought the relationship would come. I thought all of those things. And I just want to tie that into my other point, Alan, so that way I can catch up with you. Your success, your happiness, your love, your future is your responsibility. I know, and the wonderful thing about doing these live podcasts is Alan and I have to think about what we're going to talk about. Week number 82, we've talked about a lot of things, and we try to bring different points every single week. And I was thinking back, a common theme, how I used to end up in relationships, I would be very unhappy, I would be very lonely, I would be very scarce, and I would go find somebody to fix me. I'd go find somebody to make me happy. I'd go find somebody to make me feel fulfilled or make me feel significant. And the hard truth here is that's your responsibility. When I started leaning into my own happiness, my own fulfillment, my own joy, my own purpose, my own alignment, that's when I re-attracted Taryn into my life. I didn't do it when I was scarce. I was definitely scarce financially because we were broke entrepreneurs at the time, but I had really invested in myself. I think that for me, looking back, that common theme of I'll be, like Alan was saying, I'll be good enough, I'll be happy, I'll be successful, I'll be proud, I'll feel loved when, it actually is the opposite. You have to have all of those things. You have to feel all of those things first, because success is determined by you and your feelings. It's not external. And that's another hard truth right there.
I wanted to ask Kev, so
yeah, sure.
For you, you've come way up, I think, in finance, genuinely, like so much in the last few years, which is why we're succeeding at a far higher level now. And for a long time, I think that you maybe didn't understand that it was your lack of awareness that was the issue. Can you talk to everyone about vulnerably, like what needed to shift in your decision-making paradigm or your identity, or when it comes to money, like particularly around spending when you make, what had to shift? What had to change? Because now, you know, a lot of those dreams you talked about of like mansions and all that when you were a kid, like that's actually manifesting in many regards. Obviously, it's going to be a little different than you around the country in a Winnebago, but I do think all those things are 100% possible, and not only possible, but probable for you at this point. What changed? What's the difference between you dreaming about it back then and you actually working toward it now?
I think, like you said, it was a deeper understanding and awareness. I actually, I saw something the other day. There was somebody was doing a fundraiser, and I'll leave it anonymous, and I saw my mom donated, and I messaged my mom and I said, hey, I just want to let you know that one of the reasons I'm so giving and so charitable, I'm tearing up, is because I always saw you do that. And that like always motivated me. You know, it always motivated me that my mom was like, we'd go out and we'd tip like just an outrageous amount, just because my mom was like, oh, I just want to leave a $20 or $30 tip, like just because. And that always really inspired me. Now, on the other end, that also created probably some bad habits for me. So I had to become aware of the bad habits. But I remember I was sitting down with Alan one day and I was like, dude, I'm making like the most money I've ever made. Like at this point, I think, I don't remember what it was. I was like, I'm making like
$8,000.
Yeah, I'm making $8,000 a month, like steadily, you know, but I don't have any extra money. Like, where the hell is it all going? And we went through my bank account and my spending. And it's like, when I went from $5,000 to $6,000 a month, the income went up and then the expenses came right up behind it. And that's kind of always been the story of my life. When I got a new job, I got a new car. When I got a higher wage, I got a nicer laptop, or I got a bigger apartment, or I got more tattoos. For me, it was the understanding of why I was getting the result I was getting, and then just a new input on how to shift it. Like, what is one thing I can change? Oh, okay, cool. You know, don't spend money when you make more. Like, that's not how you become successful. You have to delay gratification. You have to do that for a while. So I think it's just that understanding, but it's also this, Alan. I think it's the ability to ask for help. I think that's another hard truth too. And I want it to be an empowering truth. Asking for help does not make you weak. If you can, with humility, humbly ask for help, that is a superpower. That is a superpower. And you need to do it, because there's people out there. Sure, my first point was not everybody wants what's best for you, but a lot of people do. A lot of people want better for you. And if you ask them the right question with the right intent, you'll get a good answer. And I asked Alan, and Alan helped. He said, this is where you're jeffing, and stop doing it, or you're going to be jeffing forever. And I was like, that's not good.
Appreciate it, man. It's and thank you for answering so thoroughly. Holy crap. So I think that's important too. And this isn't my last point. I do want to get into my last point and then give Kevin time for his. But I think what's key there is like this admittance factor when you know someone else is better than you at something. It needs to be there. Like one of my mentors who's like grown and scaled like $1 billion tech companies, it's like, okay, I should probably be asking him questions at dinner, not like giving him my business philosophies. Like, just pick his brain, right? And I just think it's important to admit to yourself who is ahead of you. Remember the values I talked about? Intrinsically, no one's ahead of you, right? We're all intrinsically equal. But when it comes to finance, I know more than Kevin did. It is what it is. I have an MBA.
You still do.
Right? And him admitting that is what got him to have the humility to ask the question, which then got him the result he really wanted. And so sometimes we all need to burn down the phoenix of our arrogant ego. And if you don't consider yourself arrogant, trust me, you still have an ego. Okay. And maybe it's not arrogance and maybe you don't struggle with it a ton, but you might remember the ego is what you think about yourself and the distance between what you really are and what you think you are. So for example, if you think you're great with money, compared to who? Maybe you are great with money compared to where you grew up, but compared to Bill Gates, you're not great with money, right? So if you get in a room with Bill, you should really ask him about money. And so I think that's an important thing I just wanted to bring. Again, hard truths. I love this topic. Number 5, and then, so we've got a little bit of time here. I'll go fast. Number 5 is one of my favorites. I wanted to end on a positive note like Kev was talking about. Achieving great things is supposed to be difficult. Now, I know that sounds like it's a negative, but it's actually a positive, and here's why. When times get hard, this is what gets me through, right? Because struggling through a tough workout is just as painful for me as it is for anyone else. The difference is the way I frame it. And it's the hard that makes it great. I was on a podcast recently. Kev, you were on the show as well with Ted and Eric. And they said, this is going to be an excuse busting episode. And ever since then, I locked in on excuse busters, right? I think that's kind of what we do too. And this is my excuse buster. And I'll tell this quick sort of story that I think I've told before, but maybe not. Early in fitness coaching, I used to ask my clients this simple question because I wanted them to understand something. I said, what is the most sought after aspect of a physique? And every single person always, male or female, answered with the exact same answer. And everyone has the same answer right now. Abs. I just want to have abs. All right. Why? Why is that the most sought after physique? Aspect of a physique. It's the hardest to get, and it's even harder to maintain. Now, I want everyone to imagine tomorrow we all wake up ripped. 6-pack, 8-pack, 12-pack abs. Everybody in the world is shredded. Is it still valuable? The answer is no. Because it's no longer rare. Everyone has it. It's no longer even going to be noticeable eventually. Right? At the beginning of COVID, wearing masks was so weird. Now seeing someone in a mask, pre-COVID, if we had saw someone with a mask, we'd have been like, what? What's going on? Now we see it. It's totally normal. Imagine if everyone woke up with abs. A year from now, no one would even value abs. What is the point that I'm making? Achieving great things is supposed to be difficult. Anyone who tells you getting abs and sustaining abs either has freak genetics or is trying to sell you something. Okay? It's challenging. It's difficult. Super, super difficult. It takes a lot of conscious effort and work ethic, and you have to know what your training is, what your diet is, you're tracking calories, you're focused on it every single day. I often say this. I say this to my girlfriend all the time. Fitness is a full-time job. Being in shape is a full-time job, straight up. Staying in shape is a full-time job. When we get older, we don't necessarily get better physically, at least not naturally, right? So it's the hard that makes it great. It's the hard that makes it great. Stop hating the hard. All day Saturday, from the moment I woke up to when Amy left at 11:30 p.m., I was working the whole day. Okay? It's the hard that makes it great. That's why our business is succeeding. I don't suggest everyone works 7 days a week. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if you want to achieve great things and you truly, authentically want to achieve great things, it's supposed to be difficult. That's what makes it great. And I think that's the most empowering thing in the world, personally, because when it sucks, you got to tell yourself something. You got to tell yourself something. I'm going to be in the gym later and it's going to suck. And I'm going to tell myself this is what makes it great. So that was my last point.
Strong work. All right, last one. I'll hammer mine really quickly. If you have a low level of belief in yourself, you are way more powerful than you can even imagine. Alan, I appreciate all the compliments. When I go on other podcasts, 770 episodes, blah, 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 speaker, podcaster, blah, I always try to say this. For anybody watching or listening, I didn't start there. This is where I started. I was the kid who grew up without a dad. We didn't have a lot of money. I was the kid who didn't go to college. I jumped around from job to job. I was the kid who was expected, like Alan said, to end up in trouble, to end up in jail because a lot of my family has been there. I was the person who didn't have, quote unquote, a bright future. And now here we are. So I also had a very, very low view of myself. I was not confident. I was super insecure, right? I didn't have any self-belief. My self-worth was really low. But when I started this journey and I surrounded myself with people who believed in themselves and people who believed in me, and I really leaned into like doing what I felt like I was meant to do, that's when things really started to shift. And now it's weird when I get on podcasts and they've listened to our show and they talk about, oh, you do 770. I could never do that. And now we're getting a bunch of clients, you know, like I was on the phone, you know, we have a potential of $70,000 in clients just in the last week. Like that's weird. It's weird as shit. So weird for me to think about that. But everything was along the way. The first time I stepped on stage, so weird. So weird. Like when we interviewed a lot of the big guests, so weird. You have to start just leaning into it, even if you don't believe in it yet. Just practice borrowing somebody else's belief. If you're low on the drive to 5, if you don't have a lot of belief in yourself, you are way more powerful than you even realize. And it's not until you lean into that, you get over those fears, you get outside of that comfort zone, and you really start to take risks and give yourself the credit that you deserve. That's when things really start to shift. And I think that's maybe one of the most powerful, difficult truths, because it does kind of rid you of your excuses. Like Alan said, you can do it. Wherever you are, there is another level. It doesn't matter where you are. Maybe your next level isn't the best in the world. That's okay. You can be the best in your world. You can be the best in your family. You can be the best version of you. No matter where you started from, there's always a next level. And that is a difficult truth, but it is also an empowering truth.
Strong work.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that was a good one.